Life as You Own It with Mark McDougall and Craig Miller.
Remember, you got questions, we've got answers. You may not take the time to educate yourself about the single largest investment and opportunity you have, that investment in the roof over your head in real estate.
We talk about your home, financing, making investments in real estate. We give you the facts, folks.
You know, it's just good old-fashioned horse sense that we like to talk about. And we also throw in some other horse stuff, too, just for fun.
All right, Life as You Own It. I'm Mark McDougall, and he is...
Life as You Own It. No, I'm just kidding.
He is
Craig
Life
Miller.
as You Own It. He is the life force.
I'm the Own It. Mark's the Life.
You're the Own It. Well, thanks for checking us out. Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. And, Craig, did you have a good week?
It was an eventful week. It was a busy week. I'll leave it at that.
It was eventful and busy.
Eventful and
Well,
busy.
we hope that your week was eventful, busy, and fantastic. Or maybe if you're on vacation, not so busy. Busy enjoying life. Well, we
Everybody
are...
should be back to school now.
It is. Most of your kids are either heading back to school or already back to school. So we hope that this is a fantastic year for you if you've got children. This is your one-stop shop for everything under the roof of that big house, or that modest house, or that apartment complex. Whether you own, aspire to own, rent, have 50 properties, we believe that we've got information that will help you be a more savvy, sophisticated consumer, and you can own this life, the financial part of it, and so much more. So if you're checking us out, remember, we've got a growing list of affiliates spanning the United States and Guam. Okay, we're not yet in Guam, but we hope to be one day soon. If
We have
you're,
listeners in Guam, though. We've had it confirmed.
we have. You can podcast the show. You can catch us on. Let's see, Craig. iHeartRadio. Give me some of the other places that they can catch the show. We've got. YouTube. You can watch the video podcast of the show.
TuneIn
also,
Radio.
TuneIn Radio and iHeartRadio. I said iHeartRadio, didn't I?
But you've heard it
And
so
also
much that you had to say it
iHeartRadio.
twice.
You can catch us on iHeartRadio. And we've got over 40 affiliates, and the list is growing across the nation. We're up in the Pacific Northwest. Our friends at KMAS, our newest affiliate. We're also reached the Ohio, a good number of affiliates in the Ohio region, down to the southeast, throughout the Midwest, and we're looking to get in the Southwest. So we're in Arizona. Sorry,
We're in
We've got some
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, Arizona. So, folks, we are spanning the United States quickly, and want to make sure we cover every nook and cranny.
In Arizona, you said that. We got the friends
And-
in Nebraska, and they
Got
got
it.
Cornhuskers up there listening to
There
the
you
show,
go. So we encourage you, reach out to your local radio station, and if they're the biggest station in your market, that's the one you call. Say, we demand that you air Life as You Own It, because these guys, they've got it going on, or at least they think they do. Great information for you, and remember, check out the website. If you go to lifeasyouownit.com, you can catch snippets of the show, video and audio. You can get the latest highlights thanks to Rosa Bocher, the brains behind the operation. She'll give you all the information you need to know, links to valuable resources, and any goings on with Craig and I that you may find either humorous or helpful. Right, Craig?
Maybe slightly entertaining. We have our 24-hour hotline that is gaining in popularity, folks. For those of you who are listening to the show thinking, these are the guys I can get an honest answer from, and I really need help now in my situation, whether you're investing in a piece of real estate, getting ready to close on your first house, looking at a refinance deal that doesn't seem just quite right, or maybe it seems great and you want to make sure it really is, you got to call this 800 number. Remember, be patient, because sometimes there's a lot of calls coming in at the same time. It might ring for a while. It's going to be answered. So that's 800-270-6425. Be patient in this busy day and age where you want it now. We will call you back. We will make sure if we get a message, we will respond to every single person that calls, no matter what. You can call 24 hours a day and you will get a call back. You may not get a call back at 3 a.m. when it's convenient for you, but you will get a call back.
Also, if you want to hit us up on, if you want to tweet us a message, you've got real short and sweet. You need some information, need some guidance. Rosa will get back with you if it's a question she's got to get to Craig or I. She will do it quickly. Or you can follow us on Facebook. You can get the video uploads, all that kind of good stuff right there at your fingertips. So thanks for checking out the show and all that. You know that. Okay, now we'll go to commercials and then we'll start another segment. Just kidding. Okay,
Well, we
so
have up on the for the show
on
today,
the
Mark.
agenda,
On the
cash is king, right? Right? Is cash
Some people
king?
say.
Okay, well, how about when you're buying a home, Craig? Is Cash King then?
Not so much.
Okay, well, the Queen will share 3 reasons that paying cash for your home will likely put your finances in the dungeon.
Why don't you let me explain that segment?
I am,
You
Craig.
are.
I am. You are
I thought
explaining
you
it.
said the Queen. I
No,
thought you
not
were
the
talking
Queen.
about
Yep. Also, owning a home is the American dream. That and winning American Idol. That's your American dream. Are there any other American dreams we can agree on, Rosa? I mean, we know a home. We're conditioned that owning a home is the American dream.
Depending on where you're from.
And Craig winning American Idol
Yeah.
or America's Got Talent.
I think the American
Lottery.
dream is just starting with
Or so
nothing
you think you
and
can
making
dance.
it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. We've put together what we believe are the 5 biggest myths about buying said home. So there's myths, there's realities, and there's something that lies just in between the two, and that's usually the area where most truth is. All right, and you're getting ready to buy or refinance your home. Better have your financial house in order. You know that. We'll share 4 things your mortgage lender could care less about when you're applying for a loan. Doesn't care. He or she just does not care about these 4 things. Craig, summer's almost over, right? Is it over for you? Kids back to school?
Back to school, full force as of today, or not today, but over this past week. So it's they're in school as of now, all of them. So
Did you overindulge on your vacation this year?
not really. You helped me indulge a little because thanks to you, I got to go to Idaho for a little camping trip.
You overindulged on numerous occasions. That was the 5th of. I'm just kidding. He didn't overindulge.
No.
Maybe overindulge on relaxation. But I'm speaking to overindulge as it relates to the finances. Let's start planning your next trip now, but don't fall victim to these common vacation traps. Not going to let you fall victim to them. Do you keep a tidy house? Craig, you keep a tidy house, don't
Yes,
you?
I do.
Yeah, tidy house, tidy whities. A tidy equals safe. Yes, believe it or not, by keeping your house clean, you're keeping your family safe. We'll tell you what you need to do now and why and how.
Now, here are this week's rates with Craig Miller.
Sultry
Watch out, Siri.
intro, wait.
That is
Rate,
our.
wait,
that is the
rate.
newest member of the Life as You Own It show. What's her name?
Glenda. No, I don't know. her name.
Glenda. Linda.
I have
Where's
no
Glenda
idea.
from? I believe she's from the UK.
I think she is somewhere along in there.
Thanks,
So-
Glenda. Always good to hear your voice. Craig,
She's
jump
from
into those
Nottingham.
interest rates.
Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham? Did you say Nottingham or Nottingham?
She could be from Nottingham the way she talks. I
Okay,
mean,
straighten it out.
let's just straighten up there, Mark. Okay, so anyway, folks, every week we're going to bring you the national average on interest rates. And this is highly important because guess what? Many of you either sit on the sidelines or you try to figure out where rates are at. You try to time this thing perfectly. We want to give you the general facts about where rates have been, where they are now, where they're headed. So I'm going to share that with you every single week when you tune into the show. Now, these national averages are based upon about a $200,000 loan amount, 20% or more equity, and someone with excellent credit. So there's variations, obviously, beyond those parameters that could affect what you get quoted. And keep in mind, when we share these national averages, this isn't the exact quote you should expect when you're looking at refinancing or purchasing a home. It gives you a general idea of the movement upward or downward that rates have done and a range where they should fall. You got to watch those fees. We say it every week. Watch those fees, and watch those fees, because closing costs and fees, although could potentially result in a slightly lower interest rate, are most of the time the enemy of saving money ultimately net. So they work against you in saving money, and they take time to break even. We always recommend you go to lifeasyouownit.com, read the break-even formula. That'll help you understand what we're talking about when you're comparing a lower rate with higher costs versus no cost or lower cost with a slightly higher rate. Doing that math, because it boils down to math, folks. That's what your decision should be based upon, not emotion. So here we have it, 30-year fixed rates averaging over this past week that we just passed 4.26 on a 30-year fix. That compares with 4.43 the prior week average. But I want to share with you the week before that. So now we've covered a 3-week span here with these numbers, 4.24. So what are we seeing? Well, in 3 weeks' time, rates have traded within about 20 basis points overall over the last 3 weeks on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. And how does that affect you? Not a whole lot, but I'll get to that in a moment. 15-year fixed, 3.21 versus 3.17 the prior week, and then 3.20 the week before that. 5-year ARM, 3.56 versus 3.21. There's a big jump up on 5-year ARMs this past week, 3.32 the week before. And then FHA fixed, 3.69 versus 3.74, so a slight decrease on the FHA loans. 3.72 was the week before last. When we get back from the break, folks, I'll opine a little more on where rates are going. Life as you own it, stay tuned.
All right, we're back, and before the break, Craig was giving those interest rates, and we're going to get ready to talk about paying cash. Is that a good move or not? But before we do that, let's, Craig, a little more information you want to share about rates.
Just wrap it up on the rates, folks. So again, really what you should take away from what I've shared with you today, we've just covered about a 3-week window and seen that about 0.20% of a range for the most part that we've seen as a trading range in rates, and in some cases on certain loan programs much less than that. Where we've been for weeks and weeks and weeks is a very flat market. The government is participating less and less in the purchasing of mortgage-backed security bonds, soon to be participating not at all. The market itself is going to dictate where rates go, and what we're finding here with where bond yields are here both in the United States and internationally, we will probably see rates remain somewhat flat for a while, but there's a much greater chance of them increasing slightly than going much lower. So if you're waiting around for some magic to happen, I don't know what that magic would be. That's barring, of course, any huge international conflict, a war breaking out, a stock market crash, or something along those lines. We could see that happen, and that would drive interest rates lower potentially. But folks, again, what we want to share, they've been very consistent, and those of you on the sidelines need to make a move. I recommend locking in if it makes sense. If it's saving you money, take the bird in hand and move forward. So with that in mind, next week, tune in again, and we'll see what happened over this past week. But for now, we're, once again, fairly flat on rates.
Oh, hey folks, real quickly, that gives you a range of where they are. Remember, your specific scenario, your particular scenario is impacted by your goals and so many other details that we don't even share necessarily during that segment. So, gives you a range. Doesn't mean it makes sense to do something, or it doesn't mean that you shouldn't get off that fence. Okay, what's that mean, Craig? What's that sound?
Should you stay or should you go, baby? Every week we do them.
All right, we have Ada. A-I-D-A. I apologize, Ada or Aida, if I'm mispronouncing your name. I in Phoenix, Arizona, emailed, hi guys, love all the great info on the show every week. We love you, Ada. I owe $384,000 on my home that is worth about $550,000. My loan is on an ARM that has another 2 years to go before it adjusts. Current rate is 3 3/8. I plan to stay in my home for a while. Am I better off taking out another 5 or 7 year ARM now or waiting until it reaches the adjustment period? I've been quoted around 3.5% for a new ARM. Thanks for the info.
All right.
So,
Ada, Ida, however it's pronounced, we do apologize for butchering your name, but we
potato.
definitely thank you for your email. First of all, the answer is go. Go meaning go for that refinance now. If you favor ARM products, if that's the way you like to roll, and you want to keep it in another ARM, a 5 or a 7 year ARM, I think you're not going to see such a huge increase in rates necessarily over the next couple years on your ARM, but at the same time, if you can lock in for another 5 or 7 year period for around 3.5%, just 1/8% higher than you pay now, as long as there's no points and the fees are relatively low, if not non-existent, that would be preferred, then I think you're better off to go ahead and get that term locked in at a rate you can trust to stay the same rather than gamble what's going to happen in 2 years.
All right. Good stuff. Okay, remember, if you've got a question, we've got an answer. 800-270-6425 or questions at Life As You Own It. Heck, just type in Life As You Own It in Google, hit enter, and it'll take you to it'll bring you right into our waiting arms. They're open, wide open, just waiting to give you a big hug. Okay, Craig, cash is king, and you, my friend, are my queen. And so let's talk about 38% of the in the second quarter of last year. 38% of home purchases, home sales, were cash transactions. Now, this includes homes that were purchased as distressed sales, homes that were purchased by large corporations that in turn are going to have them in their portfolio. So it's not 38% of your average consumers paid cash for their home. It's 38% in aggregate. Consumers, commercial investors, etc. So, but that's just a crazy high number.
Well, and it was 42% the prior quarter, and that's because there are a little bit less big institutional investors participating. So
Right.
with that in mind, I would still say a big chunk of that 38% figure is coming from people buying private residences for themselves to live in, and potentially some private individuals buying investment properties as well. But yeah, there's a lot of cash going into houses.
Okay, so if you're an institutional investor, that's a different. We're not speaking to you necessarily, but we're speaking to those of you that are your hardworking, life as you own it listener, thinking strategically and trying to make sure that you're making a wise choice. Craig, does paying cash for your home, does that make financial sense?
It rarely, and I mean rarely, makes financial sense.
So you're going to give us 3 reasons it is just plumb silly.
Absolutely. And here they are.
Plumb silly.
Reason number 1, folks, you're missing out on an enormous arbitrage opportunity. So your first one that makes it not smart is missing out on arbitrage. What arbitrage is when you're using other people's money to make money, which, by the way, is how banks make all their money. So if you're supportive of having your local bank holding money in there for you, they're so kind as to keep your $20, $30, $50, maybe $100,000 or more in their bank for you, paying you that nice 0.5% yield right now. All they're doing is turning around for the most part and making investments or loaning that money out and earning a profit margin on that money. So all banks' assets that they're earning money on are typically assets that they've borrowed. You yourself can practice the same thing and make money on somebody else's money. If not make money, at least break even and create some liquid security for yourself with the money. So taking an interest rate of, say, 4.25% on a 30-year mortgage, figuring that most people who would have the money to pay cash for a house most likely also have the ability to itemize a tax return because they probably have substantial income or assets that might be taxable, your effective interest rate on average is going to be about 2.98% after you figure in those tax efficiencies. You're going to get back 25 to 30 cents on every dollar you pay in mortgage interest. So first thing out of the gate is it's real simple to look at the math. If it's costing you about 3% to have the money borrowed, and let's say we're talking about $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 or more, what possibly could you be doing with that $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 safely and properly managed and invested as far as the opportunity to earn money? So that's number 1. Now number 2, which ties into number 1, is lack of liquidity. You've got a higher risk factor because you have less reserves and you've you're forced yourself to put something in a non-liquid account. Now, can you liquidate it? Sure. But what does it take to liquidate it? Selling that house off, paying some real estate fees and commissions to do it, or taking out a loan, of course, at future unknown terms, because you don't know at some point in the future
if you're eligible.
If you're eligible to do it, and what those terms might be, what the rates might be at the time, what the fees might be to do it. So you're taking your money and you're investing it in real estate, and you're saying, hey, this money is out of play now. I can't move it around. I can't leverage it. I can't do anything with it. If housing prices take a big hit, I can't move it real quick to somewhere to protect it. It's just going to take the hit. So you've got that less reserves. The other factor, the other big negative about paying cash for a house is you're also locking yourself out of potentially future opportunities to maximize making an investment using that money. And what I mean by that is one of the things we see a lot is people will go in paying cash for a house at the time. It's what feels good, it makes sense, or they have the ability to do it. Later on in life, and I'll just use an example of someone who came into an insurance settlement or some inheritance or something along those lines, sold something else, they had a generous amount of money, and they like the feeling of paying cash for their house that they're moving into. 6 months later, 6 years later, 16 years later, they're in a different financial situation. There's either a great opportunity or there's a dire situation. And now they're looking to change what they're doing, and they want to do something with that money from that house. You have locked yourself out of the tax deductibility, except for the $100,000 one-time exemption. You've locked yourself out of potentially qualifying for certain types of loan programs and things like that. So you are limiting future opportunities by putting your money in that way. So basically, again, folks, there's money to be made on that money, potentially far in excess of what it's costing you in interest. On top of that, you've got the liquidity factor to consider, and having liquidity is an important piece of an investment many times. And then lastly, future opportunities that you may be able to participate in with that money are sometimes out the window, especially when it comes to the tax deductibility piece.
And I'm going to hammer on the biggest one I see is going to be the liquidity or reserves that people will otherwise use that puts their financial future and their financial present at risk. Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk about the 5 myths about homeownership as the American dream. Life as you own it. Stay tuned.
All right, friends, we are back. Life as you own it. So, cash may not be king after all, but also myths. There's plenty of those out there, not just as it pertains to cash, but about buying that home in general. The American dream. In fact, we've had presidential candidates, if not presidents themselves, standing before the nation saying, "Hey, you're right," or "You're, we want to ensure your ability," whatever you want to call it, to have the American dream come true of homeownership. I mean, we've really hammered in on this. We've really made this ingrained in the psyche of the American people that you need to be a homeowner as part of the overall package of living in this great country. Let's talk about some of those myths, Mark.
All right, number one is owning is better than renting. No, not the case. Depending on your specific situation, your lifestyle, your goals, your position in life, each person has a different set of circumstances, and if it makes sense for you to own, you've done the math. It's a long-term investment in most, if not all, scenarios. Great, become a homeowner. But do not fall for that pitch from the media, from realtors, etc. And I think much more the message today is maybe it does make more sense to rent. So just be educated. It's a great long-term investment. Can be a great long-term investment, but don't fall for it thinking that now you're of age, you've got a good job, and you've saved some money for a down payment. You need to purchase just so you can say that you're a homeowner. Renting gives freedom. It gives sometimes more financial freedom and lifestyle freedom that you cannot otherwise afford or participate in if you're a homeowner. Anything else on that, Craig?
Well,
right. On the myth?
We got to say, just because as far as buying a home is a great investment piece of it, I mean, we want to share with you the fact that over the last 10 years, we've seen a 0.3% overall net annual.
So that's the other myth number two is
Yeah.
buying a home is a great investment.
Right.
Not necessarily. It can be a good long-term investment, but if you're a Life as You Own It show listener, you'll know the many things that can enhance that investment. Understanding the financial implications as it relates to the tax efficiency, doing the math on the financing side. You don't pay a bunch of fees so that your ultimate borrowing cost is significantly greater than it could or should be if you're only going to own the house 3, 4, 5 years or finance the house for 3, 4, 5 years. So there's so much more there. But Craig, great point. Over the last 10 years,
You got about
average of 0.3.
and then about 8.25 overall return, annual return on the S&P 500. So even after you factor in that's taxable income,
Right.
and you take anywhere from 15 to 25% of that away for taxes, depending on how you have, whether it's short or long-term gain, you're still way, way, way ahead on your other investments, which goes back to what we talked about in the prior segment with the whole arbitrage thing. I mean, if you're borrowing money at 2.98 and you're going to somehow return 6, 7, 8% on it, you're actually making money to have that mortgage as opposed to having that house paid off, which is still subject to fluctuations in the market, still potentially going to lose money.
All right, another myth for consideration, Craig, is that location is everything. Location, location, location. All right, Craig, why might that be a myth?
Well, it's a myth because there's so many other factors that go into that. I mean, it used to be that you want to find a home, you got to find that perfect home in that nice, well-established community that's got low crime, great schools, close to airports, close to shopping, and all that kind of stuff. But there really needs to be a look at you got to look a little bit further down the road. You got to look into the future a little bit about the area that you're moving into when you're thinking about this. It's not about the here and now location.
Right.
Sometimes it's about what's forthcoming in this potential community or up and coming community and things like that.
So the value of location is not a myth; it is a reality. However, there's a caveat that says, if it's hot today, will it be hot tomorrow? Is there potential in this neighborhood, or is there something coming into this neighborhood? Whether a school is going to be shut down, whether they're getting ready to bring in a rail system right next to your house, those things that presently hot location might cool down significantly. Also, the concept, and we talk about this a lot, buying the worst home in a nice neighborhood. Sure, can be a sound strategic investment if you have the ability to put the money into the home, fix up the home, and make it comparable with your neighbors. However, if you're just thinking that because you bought the worst junky clunker home in that neighborhood, it's suddenly going to be worth more money because it's in a great neighborhood, you're incorrect. On the flip side of that is if you're buying in a fixer-upper neighborhood, a neighborhood you think is going to be hot, well, you can't buy all the houses. So you may get one at a great deal, but unless you're going to purchase and fix up the other houses in the neighborhood, that neighborhood might never get the value that you believe is necessary to recoup your investment.
And this is one that requires a whole lot of math, folks. You've got to do enough research and planning and looking at the overall expenditure and add it all up. You can't just go in thinking, oh, I can. This house, all the houses down the street recently sold for $250,000. I can pick this one up for $125, and I can put 80 in it. So I'll be, this much ahead. Whatever, $45,000 ahead. Guess what? There's unexpected expenses, and you just don't know without doing a whole lot of planning and consult with experts. So make sure you've done a lot of math before you pull that trigger.
All right, those are 4. We got one more coming at you after the Should You Stay or Should You Go segment. Okay, Craig, you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, we have Roger in Nashville, Tennessee, called the hotline with the following scenario. I have a 20-year fixed-rate mortgage at 4 1/8, and it has 16 years and 3 months left on the term. I owe $186,000, and it's worth $250,000 or more. Should I refinance to a 15-year loan at 3.5%, which the lender says is a no-cost loan, or should I pay extra on my current loan? I've always heard you have to save a full point to be worth refinancing.
Roger, there's another myth for you. Hey, the answer is go. Definitely do the refinance. As far as the saving a full point, that's a complete myth. If it is truly a no-cost loan, Roger, it's a good deal. You've got to pay attention. That means no cost is they're not rolling the fees in your financing. They're absorbing those costs, and you're just financing the balance, plus maybe setting up an escrow account. But pay attention to the math, and if it's a no-cost loan, there's no doubt about it. You will save money by going that route.
Life is You Own It, back in a few. All right, Craig, 5 myths about buying a home. Number 1 is buying is better than renting. Not necessarily. Number 2, that purchasing a home is always a good investment. Not necessarily. Number 3 most important factors are location. Sometimes, but there's a little more to that story. And number 4, that if you buy a fixer-upper in a neighborhood that you think is a very nice and valuable neighborhood, that you will get your money back, guaranteed. Not necessarily. And the flip side of that is if you are purchasing a home in what you think is going to be an upcoming neighborhood, or even there's half the houses are fixed up and nice, be careful being on the front edge of that, because someone's going to have to buy and purchase and fix up those other houses for you to realize the potential investment in your home. And then the last one is that this is one that has probably over the last couple of years has become more and more of a popular phenomena to understand that that may not be true. It's that real estate is local. We can agree that on the block you live on the in the neighborhood or the city, that's in aggregate, those values are driven by local trends, but ultimately national trends are driving them also, which includes the institutional investors that buying a large number of homes that are either distressed sales or bank-owned properties, REOs, and also the fact that our economy is such, the employment rate on a national basis, the sharing of all the information and news that impacts the psychology of the consumer on a local basis does impact every market. It's not all about what happens in your local market.
That's
it's
a
what
really
we
good
see
point.
and hear on the news that drives the psychology of the consumer.
Yeah, prior to there being such, media now, social media, regular media, it's so widespread, and people hear, oh, this is happening nationally, they assume it's happening in their backyard, or whether it's good news or bad news. So it does affect the outlook on things beyond the local market. All right, Mark.
Okay, so Craig, there's a few things that your mortgage lender does not really care about. You're going to apply for that purchase or that refinance. Going to get your best deal on the purchase finance transaction, or you've listened to the show and you're going to do a no-cost refi, and you got your house in order and you're sharing all the info. Well, here's some things that your lender just really candidly doesn't really care about. They may care about it, but it's not going to be applicable in your transaction. One is going to be that income that is going to help you qualify, or maybe it doesn't even help you qualify, but you like to talk about it. Whether it's the part-time job that you're nephew and child, someone that has in the household, but they're not going to be on the mortgage. We cannot. You're not going to use their income, and candidly, if it doesn't enhance your ability to qualify, you don't need it.
Yeah, but we'll hear people all the time say, "Well, my wife makes quilts and she sells them at flea markets or whatever, and she makes about $500 a month doing that." I mean, that's great and all, but if you're not reporting on your tax return for the last 2 years and we can't document the potential for that future income to continue, it's not going to be used.
And non-borrower incomes, bottom
We
line. If
get
you've
a
got
lot
a
of-
family or friend or
Yeah.
cousin that says, I'll get on the loan with you. Well, if they're not going to be, you can use my income to qualify.
My mom's going to live in the
not if
basement.
they're right.
She gets a
There's
social
those
security
things.
check.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the one you said that the wife makes or the husband makes patty wax.
Yeah. Every week we're going to cover patty wax.
That's
so you
right.
guys know.
That's right. The lender qualification, it doesn't impact your ability to qualify, your race, your age, and your family status. Those don't impact it. You can be. It's amazing through the years. I've had the most common question asked of me is of someone that's say 70-year-old or 75. They say, believe it or not,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if I'll qualify because for a 30-year mortgage, do I have to do a 15-year mortgage? Because I'm probably not going to live to be 100 or so.
Yeah,
Folks,
it's a
doesn't matter.
logical assumption. But
Yeah.
people, I've had 85-year-old people come to me and they want to take out a mortgage, and they're like, "Well, I mean, I don't know that I'm going to be around much longer. You're going to loan me this money, folks. We can't discriminate based upon age. We don't know when you're going to exit the earth, so you qualify the same as somebody that's 24 years old."
Okay. Also, in the income front, we've got non-borrower income. Then we've got certain kinds of income types. Let's say it's a pension that you take that you don't receive consistently, or it's retirement income that you may take out upon occasion, lump sums, but there is no consistent track record of it, etc. Just so you know, not all income types that you have. If you're not reporting it, a big one is if you're not reporting it to Uncle Sam, to the IRS, well, that income type is not going to be usable for your loan. So there are all those incomes that may come in a variety of streams probably are not going to be usable or not going to be usable unless they're documentable. And then the last one is this is the one we hear, probably the most frequent one, Craig, is one of the reasons that one of the myths about shopping around for home mortgage is that the lender's going to pull their credit and they shouldn't shop around because it's going to impact their ability to qualify.
Right. So if you're looking at something that we don't care anything about, if you want to say from a lender's perspective, is if you've talked to 2 or 3 other lenders, it's not going to affect your ability to qualify for the loan you may be applying for with another lender. You have 30 days to get those inquiries done and shop around for the best deal for you. And again, this myth was created by lenders basically wanting to create a competitive advantage by keeping you from shopping around. It doesn't matter if 10 people pull your credit as long as it's within a 30-day period of time. It's not going to affect your scores.
That's
for the
a
same
mortgage.
type of credit.
Yep, you got it. Yeah. Don't go apply for a car loan, 3 new credit cards, and
Cell
a
phone and
home
everything
mortgage,
else,
or it's
and-
going to impact your credit score.
Exactly.
All right, another should you stay or should you go? We've got Nancy in Parkville, Missouri, called the toll-free hotline to ask, what is the best way to handle PMI? We can only put down 5% at this time and really hate the idea of paying mortgage insurance fees. We have been given the option of monthly paid, paying it up front for $3,200, or taking a rate that is 0.25% higher and letting the lender pay the upfront. That's some detail, Nancy. I don't know how to do the math to figure out which is the best deal. I'm thinking if I take the higher rate, it will cost me more over the life of the loan. We appreciate your advice. All
I'm
right,
going to
Nancy.
give Nancy an answer when we get back from this next break, folks. Life as you own it. Stay tuned.
All right, down to the last segment, folks. Got a lot of information to cover, and we begin with the should you stay or should you go scenario before the break. Nancy in Parkville, Missouri, called the toll-free hotline to ask, what's the best way to handle PMI, Craig? She's got 5% to put down, and she's been given
mortgage insurance.
You got
she
it,
has to, one way or the other.
right?
So yeah, she's got the option of taking paying the monthly amount. So there's a monthly fee tacked onto the payment each month to pay for the mortgage insurance. Or she says she can pay it up front. The lender tells her for a $3,200 upfront fee. Or she can take a rate that's 0.25% higher and letting the lender pay the upfront amount. She doesn't know how to do the math. She wants to know what's the best deal. I can just tell you right now from experience doing this hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times, Nancy, the go piece is to go with the lender pay mortgage insurance and the slightly higher interest rate. Dollar for dollar, that's going to save you the most money over the likely period that you'll have the mortgage. You are correct when you make the point that over the life of the loan, having a 0.25 point higher rate could cost you more money. But you would have to have this loan for a long time for that to become true. That upfront $3,200 versus 0.25 point, that's going to take many, 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 many years to recoup. Same thing with the, taking paying the $3,200 up front period versus the quarter point higher rate with the lender doing it. To make sure I clarify that, it's going to take a long time before that's going to be the better deal. What we see most of the time is the break-even period is between 11 and 16 years, depending on the size of the loan and the type of PMI. Most people, not saying you won't ever, but the chances, the probability, and you have to look at probability, folks, of you having a mortgage, whether you're even in the same house or not, for 11 or more years is a slim, slim chance. I know everybody thinks, well, rates are low, they're going to go way up, they're never going to come down again. That's not going to happen either. So you can hang your hat on my prediction and come beat me over the head if I'm wrong. But just watch the cycles, folks. A year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, rates will go up, rates will go back down. You'll refinance for various reasons. Go with the lender-paid mortgage insurance. Pay the slightly higher interest rate. Your payment will be the lowest at that option, and over the next decade or more, you'll save the most net money in your pocket.
All right, good stuff, Craig. Remember, folks, if you've got a scenario, 800-270-6425, we may take your scenario on air. Okay, down to the last part. Okay, summer's almost over, Craig. Did you overindulge on your vacation?
I
You
did
said
not.
no, you did not.
I gotta wait.
So you're going to start planning. You're going to start planning your next trip, right? Yes, you need
If you're
to.
paying for it again.
Start budgeting for planning it. Don't fall victim to these traps. Number one is you think you should take a big long vacation because you work so hard. We agree you should because you work so hard, but is it necessarily because you work hard and earn a good living? Does that mean you need to then spend all that money vacationing? Not necessarily. So make sure that you budget, and just because you work hard doesn't mean you have to or are obligated to attempt to enjoy taking time off.
Right.
If you need to take the time off, take the time off. You can afford it. But don't feel that it's just a part of the American ritual that you work hard and you take a week off. I've had so many people go, I didn't enjoy it because I just don't like laying around a pool. I thought, and they had less fun spending money and were stressed about it. So, so your friends take a really nice vacation. There's another one. And so you think, well, gosh, we got to be able to have something to talk about. They went to Puerto Rico for a week, so we need to go to Puerto Rico for a week. Or
Keeping up
Disney
with
for
the
a week.
Joneses.
Keeping up with the Joneses, the Smiths, the Millers. You think more expensive vacation means more fun.
That's another big one that can cost you a lot, folks. You think, oh, wow, this is this elaborate vacation. Guess what? Those elaborate, expensive vacations come with some complications sometimes, including getting there, how long it takes to get there, and the type of stuff you can do while you're there. Pay attention to what you're spending on a vacation. Really plan out and think about what you're going to do with your friends.
So you're on vacation, and you're like, okay, I'm on vacation. I'm supposed to be having fun, so I'm going to buy the $14 collector Disney World Cup that we're going to be able to refill for $9 3 times, and we're here for the last day. Or we're going to buy this glow-in-the-dark strobe light thing that's $27 that we'd never buy back home if we're in the toy store for $4.
Be broken by the time you get on the airplane.
That's right. And the last one is you think you can buy better memories. Folks, the best memories are those times spent with family and loved ones doing the simple things. Whether you're camping, whether you're just on the road trip, whether you're just spending some quality time with them, those are the memories that money can't buy. And you know what money can't buy also? Is the Life As You Own It show. You can check out the podcast, all the other information by going to lifeasyouownit.com. Thanks for checking us out. Have a great weekend. And remember to